Hey, what's going on, guys, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Imperial Diecast. Today I want to present to you another classic from the early 90s. This is a 1/18 scale Ferrari 456 GT from 1992. And I'm not just talking about the car, I'm actually talking about the model itself. And not just the model, but even the box. What you're looking at here is a 27-year-old box in a pretty good condition. And this is how Bburago used to sell their cars back in the day in these 1/18 scale diamonds collection. So this is what the front of the box looks like. And here is the top view. And then we have over here the side. You can see it says die-cast metal with plastic parts. Here's the other side, and then down here, let me get this right, is the bottom, where you can see a big list of all the available models of Bburago. So back in 1992, they already had this huge collection, and have of course expanded ever since. Now, the one thing that I don't like about this 1/18 scale Ferrari 456 GT is that if you look at the wheels, they don't have the Ferrari logos on the hubcaps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this car out of the box, and then I'm going to put some custom Ferrari hubcaps on it with the prancing horse, the Cavallino Rampante. And then we can get started with the review.
Say all you want, girl, you are an angel, much better than you know, girl. You see, you're all that I want. Girl, I almost fainted. Too much for my heart and soul to bear to feel.
So this is Bburago's 1/18 scale Ferrari 456 GT. So this is a 2+2 Grand Tourer. And not only that, but this was also the last Ferrari to use pop-up headlamps, symbolizing the end of an era. This car was produced from 1992 to 2003, and is actually what I would call the first modern Ferrari, moving away from the boxy design of the 80s like you had with the Testarossa, the 328 TB, and so on, because this, at the same time, predates the 612 Scaglietti, which was its successor. It also predates the 360, which didn't come out until 1999. The 550 Maranello didn't come out until 1996, and the F50, which was to replace the F40, wasn't released until 1995. So, in the early 90s, this was literally the most modern-looking Ferrari that you could buy. Now, the way I came across this car was that approximately 2 months ago on eBay, I came across an offer where this car was being sold for 15 euros and 14 euros shipping, so approximately 29. And it was new in box, so for that price I couldn't say no, and I wanted to add this car to my collection. The problem was that when I unboxed this car, I noticed that on the windshield, it actually had several scratches, like not just on the front one, but also on the back one. And even in the, passenger window, there were some scratches. So I contacted the seller, and he was a nice guy, and he gave me €5 discount. So I essentially got this car for just €10 and shipping. And I cannot complain for that price, because apart from those few scratches on the windshield, everything else is perfect on this car. I mean, this is a, as I said, 27-year-old car, and it's in mint condition. Everything else, like the suspension, the wheels, the paint, even the box is in stellar condition, so I can't complain. Now, as far as I'm aware, this car is made by 3 different manufacturers. One of them is GT Spirit, which makes a sealed version of this car, so that means absolutely nothing opens, but for that you get raised windows and you get better build quality. At the same time, the price of the GT Spirit version is €120 retail, so there's that. Another manufacturer in 1/18 scale is Hot Wheels. Now, Hot Wheels didn't make an elite version of this car, just the baseline, and this particular version, I think the only color they released was the champagne color, and it is ridiculously hard to find. So you may have to search for an entire year on eBay, and you may spot it like a few times. That's how rare it is. And then, of course, there's Bburago, which retails for anywhere between 15 to 35 or 40, depending on the condition and whether it comes with a box or not. The cool thing about Bburago is that you are spoiled for choice when it comes to color. And so I decided to make use of the daylight and show you this beautiful dark metallic blue that I have it in. But apart from this, there's also the typical Rosso Corsa Ferrari red. Then there's like a dark red, almost burgundy kind of version, which I think was sold with a wooden base, which back in the day was like the Bburago signature version, as it came with a closed box and everything. There's also a metallic light blue version, and then there's an anthracite version, which is pretty rare, a regular silver version, as well as a dark green version. But returning to this metallic dark blue, I think it looks great. Especially in the direct sunlight, it sparkles amazingly. But even in diffuse sunlight, it's very dark, and you cannot really see the metallic pigments unless you put it into direct sunlight. So depending on whether you like metallic pigments or not, it's just a matter of putting it in the sunlight or not. But anyway, without any more further ado, let's begin the review by taking a look at the front of this vehicle. So looking at the front of this vehicle, one of the perks of owning a early 1990s Bburago Ferrari is that everything here, the front grille, is perforated. And not only that, but you also get a metallic Ferrari 3D badge, photo etched one, although it's of course a little bit thicker than the sort of very thin photo etching that you can achieve with today's technology. And to either side of the chrome slatted front grille are these fog lamps, and these also have a texture on them. So they're separate pieces. And below we have 2 air intakes as well. And I believe these are also perforated. As we move on further up, you can see that we have this beautiful Ferrari badge. It's just a sticker, actually, it's not a badge. However, even though 27-something years have passed since this model was released, this sticker is still not coming off, so that's the product of essentially taking good care of your diecast cars. And then we have these pop-up headlamps over here and over here, and these unfortunately do not work. I mean, that's probably the kind of detail that you will only get on a Hot Wheels Elite version of this car, which Hot Wheels Elite never made, because there's only a baseline Hot Wheels version, but there the pop-up headlamps also do not work. I think the only other budget manufacturer that actually made workable pop-up headlamps was Mira. And maybe even Tonka Polystill, but I'm not sure. Anyway, however, you can see that behind we actually have perforation. And now I'd suggest that we open up this front engine Ferrari's hood. Now the best thing about this hood is just the way it opens. It opens around the pop-up headlights. Check this out. Now this is a almost 27, 28-year-old Bburago model, so the metal hood is not going to stay open. However, Bburago has provided us with a very nice hood prop that is tucked underneath the headlight over here, so you just got to carefully remove it, and then you can fasten it into a sort of groove or crevice, and that way the hood will stay open. And the engine we're looking at here is a 5.5 liter naturally aspirated V12, generating 436 brake horsepower, accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 5 seconds, and with a top speed of 309 kilometers per hour. Those are some really good stats for a 4-seater. And Bburago did a fairly solid job on this engine. I mean, you can see that it is made out of several different parts, both metal and plastic, and they are painted. I mean, you can see Ferrari 456 written on the engine blocks, although it's a little bit slanted, this one particular sticker, but the other one sits pretty well. You can see the prancing horse. And we have the intake manifold here with 12 cylinders. The engine is painted in red, got the air hoses. There's a lot of depth here. Although it's not as nicely done as the engine of the Ferrari 550 Maranello, I'm still pretty happy with it. I mean, but also this little gadget over here, I'm not sure what it is. Probably the battery. We've got these canisters as well. No warning labels though. But yeah. Pretty nice level of detail. So as we move on to the side of the car, here you will notice the improvement that I made to the wheels. Adding Ferrari logos to the hubcaps really makes the car look that much more expensive and well made. And it was really simple. I mean, all I did was essentially took the measurements of the pins that are holding the wheels in place, and they're about 2.2 millimeter in diameter. And so then I printed a Ferrari logo in a little bit bigger than that, like maybe 3 millimeter, so that it would cover the hole around the pin as well. And then I cut it out and I just stuck it. So it looks a whole lot better now. Let's take a closer look at the rim. And you can see that even up close, it looks convincing enough. You can also see that Bburago has provided this car with Pirelli P0 tires. And these are 3D letterings on the tire walls. And over here we have 245 40 ZB17. What's missing, however, is that there are neither brake discs nor brake calipers on this model, which is a shame because this is a 1/18 scale car and that would be something unacceptable even on a Bburago. However, we do have this little nozzle here for pumping air into the tire, so there's that. And of course we have the 5 lug nuts. And just a few years after the release of this car, Bburago made the Ferrari 550 Maranello, and on that car they actually did put the brake discs as well, so that's an improvement. Bburago could have also colored in these indicators here in yellow or orange. They haven't done that, so that's another downside. But if you have like some spare paint, you could easily do this yourself. Now this car is missing the Ferrari fender badge. However, this is not the fault of Bburago. Even the real Ferrari 456 GT, at least many of them, did not come with this. This was an option on the car. And over here, we have a little sticker, which is, of course, the Pininfarina badge. Here's a look at the rear wheel. Just a little bit of effort, and you can see just how much better everything looks. Moving on to the back of the car, these older 90s Bburago Ferraris had a three-dimensional Ferrari badging on the back as well. And the rear license plate is just a sticker. You can see that it has begun to come off, but that's alright. This is an original Italian license plate. This was before Italy joined the EU, so it looks a little bit different. And of course, MO is for Modena. Taking a look at the taillights, these are pretty interesting looking. I mean, I personally didn't like the way they looked on the red version of this car, but I think in dark blue these red taillights contrast the dark blue very nicely, so they look really nice and they tend to stick out. Below we have quad exhaust, chrome tipped, and the center of the exhaust has a depth to it, so the trunk opens and stays open, which is really nice. Inside, you'll find the interior to be in beige, just like the interior of the car, so that's also a nice little extra touch. In terms of what we can fit inside, let's see if this one goes in. Nope. How about this smaller bag here? Yeah, this fits. Perhaps another bag. Maybe even an umbrella to take to your weekend trip. Moving further up, you'll notice that we have the three-dimensional Ferrari badging over here. And as we move on to the rear windshield, you'll notice that we have these defroster lines typical for the Ferrari 456. And here's the gas cap. Now let's move on to the interior of this car. There's no dorsal branding, unfortunately. And the doors themselves also don't have a whole lot of detail, although there's some stuff here. The mirrors, they're very good quality. You can see the reflection of my tool here very well. And now checking out the interior of this car, you can see that this is actually very detailed. I mean, first of all, what I like a lot about the interior is that we have the Ferrari 456 GT in three-dimensional lettering over here on the dashboard. And not only that, but this dashboard actually has vented air vents. I mean, like, they're perforated. When was the last time you saw that on any diecast car? That is awesome. It's always when I do these reviews on my cars that I notice certain things that most people wouldn't have noticed. And that always surprises me as to all these little extra details that these diecast cars have on offer. Below the vents, you'll see that we have 5 different gauges. They're all stickers, however. And right here, this center console looks absolutely stunning. I mean, yeah, it's just a sticker, but it's in such a good condition after 26, 27 years. You can see the 6-speed manual gated shifter right there. Probably one of the last Ferrari did. You can also see that we have like these buttons down here. Climate control, one of them is probably the start button. Although I think these older Ferraris simply had like the key that you had to put into the ignition and so on. Anyway, you can also see that on the floor we have the Prancing Horse themed floor mats. So those look really nice. And now as we move on to check out the seats, these have the Prancing Horse on the headrests. And the seat belts are also there as separate pieces. Of course, the belt buckle is not painted, but still. So yeah, the cool thing about a 2+2 car is, of course, these 2 rear seats. And they don't look too uncomfortable. I mean, you could imagine yourself sitting here. We also have a nice center armrest, which even has a hole in the middle. It's almost like you could lift it up. And up here we have the sun visors. And then a few more buttons in the middle. So all in all, really nicely done interior. But let's check out the driver's side. So moving on to the driver's side, you can see that we have a 3-spoke steering wheel. And it's sometimes hard to get an older Bburago where the center sticker used for the Ferrari on the steering wheel sits perfectly. Like, oftentimes what happens is that it sits a little bit off center, but thankfully on my model, it sits well. So I was lucky in that regard. Down there you can see that we have these chrome floor pedals, the gas, the clutch, and the brake. And behind the steering wheel, we have a sticker for the instrument panel, which has the rev meter and the speedometer on it. And I think you can even read what it says, although I'm not sure if my camera can completely focus on that. Anyway, I'm just impressed with the level of detail going on here. And the interior being beige in color, of course, naturally makes it look a lot better and contrasts the dark blue paint of the car really well. Really nice. And of course, the front wheels can swivel, and the steering wheel corresponds to it. And now taking a look at the bottom of the car, these older 90s Bburagos really had a lot of detail going on. You can see that we have the drive shaft right there. Got some engine detail over here. Gearbox. It says Bburago Ferrari 456 GT 1992 1/18 scale, made in Italy. Tread on the tires is also pretty nice. Looks really cool. Alright guys, I hope you liked this review of the 1/18 scale Bburago Ferrari 456 GT. If you aren't already, make sure you're subscribed for more reviews like this, and I'll see you in the next video. This is Imperial Diecast, signing out.